Oh shit, here we go again.
I saw many people, including Mario Kart himself, say it would be better if there were some stats of other tier 1s and tier 2s to compare Marlow's frame stats with, so we can see how large of a difference there is. Well, I did it for Mace, and it took so long, holy shit. So first I managed to find a video by LapisBro, who held a tournament of the best Mace PvPers in the world, which included KhalihMortimer, the first player to ever get tier 1 in Mace, Captain C08, a former high tier 1, and PUFFIERZ, a high tier 2 Mace PvPer. There is one more player that I calculated for that has the most interesting results, where you're gonna have to keep watching to find out who it is. The reason I chose this video initially was because it didn't have any frame blending. However, after frame counting the entire video, I realized I didn't have enough data points per player. So I found montages of Captain C08 and KhalihMortimer to add more data points to their stats. Also, please subscribe. I've ruined my whole weekend working on this. Okay, now let me start with the considerations. First of all, the way I count these frames are kept consistent with the original document owner. For an attribute swap, the first frame counted is the frame in which the sword or axe switches to the mace, and the last frame is the frame just before the player switches out of the mace to any other item. Many of these montage videos use frame blending to make their videos appear smoother. However, they can cause blurred hotbar selections. To counter this, the frames are started to be counted even if there is a blurred selection in the hotbar. Also, the counting is in frames and not in game ticks, so it doesn't account for lag and can be inaccurate. There are also times when the player kills the opponent and just holds the mace afterwards throughout the clip. These data points will be disregarded. Also, since I am a human, there is a random error of ±1 frame in the counting. Now, let's analyze the document. Just at first glance at the raw data, we can see that the variation in frame statistics is just insane. Marlow almost always has perfect 3-frame attribute swaps, whereas these other players don't. Not only that, but the variation in their attribute swaps is also very high. I made a line chart plotting each specific attribute swap to the number of frames it took to perform it. We can see a kind of similarity in the chaos of the lines of Captain, Khalih, and PUFFIERZ, but for Marlow, we can see basically a straight line. I calculated the mean for every player. As expected, Marlow had the lowest mean at 2.974 frames, which means she requires 2.974 frames on average to perform a swap. However, we can see in the other players' data points that there are some unusually large numbers. This could be caused by the player just holding onto the mace after performing the swap, but eventually switching out before the clip ended. To reduce the effect of such outliers, I decided to also calculate the geometrical mean, since the mean is less sensitive to extreme outliers. Captain has a larger mean than Khalih, but a smaller geometrical mean. But Marlow's geometrical mean still remained the lowest by a lot. Another valuable statistic in this is their standard deviation. While the mean shows how fast she is, standard deviation shows how consistent she is. All the other players had a standard deviation higher than 10, but Marlow had a standard deviation of just 0.16, which is about 60 times lesser than everyone else. That is almost robotic. There is one last player whose frame stats I calculated. Rapture. Rapture has been undergoing something similar to Marlow, being accused of cheating. Now if we compare their frame stats on the graph, we can barely see Marlow's line anymore because of how similar their stats are. Comparing their standard deviations, we can see a minute 0.064 difference. Accounting for the random error of ±1 frame, these statistics can be considered to be exactly the same. If you look at the raw data, Captain and Khalih both have 3 frame attribute swaps as well, so it isn't the speed of the swap that is in question. However, comparing standard deviation values, we can see a large difference in the consistency of the swaps compared to Marlow and Rapture. It is certain that Rapture and Marlow have something different about their gameplay. While reviewing Captain and Khalih's gameplay, I could see human-like aspects, which include holding the mace on purpose for longer. However, Marlow and Rapture's gameplay seemed to look almost robotic. Now, it is very possible that they both practiced attribute swaps so much that they just statistically performed that consistent, but it is unlikely. Hey, viewer, wake up! Now, I know many of y'all don't listen to this part of the video where I say that this method has its limitations. It is counted in frames, not game ticks, which can be inaccurate. Even though this can be used as proof against Marlow, it isn't the best kind of proof, because it is a proof of consistency. You can't really say that someone is cheating just because of their consistency. If tomorrow, Marlow disproves the macro allegations against her, all this document would do is show how good she really is and how much she has practiced. I know people are still gonna comment, "Marlow already posted a video disproving all you losers. Y'all are just mad because she's a girl." Well, to those people, all I can say is that you don't actually care about finding the truth. This isn't about picking a side and defending it with your life. It's about being able to put forward your view constructively, and to keep an open mind when receiving logically put opinions, no matter what side of the argument you're on. Do let me know what your opinions are down in the comments. I will respond to every single one that isn't a comment like the one I just described earlier. I worked on this for 3 days non-stop to be able to upload this as fast as possible for you guys. So please like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Captain C08, I am going to find you and hunt you down. 'Cause holy shit, what is this? Just have a look at this. Every time I try to frame count this guy, this is what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why? Wait, I think I can count this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bro. Screw this shit, I'm out.